And happy Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Yes, I am actually happy to get a day right. So there's always that. And we are on our next episode of the conversation. Next two will actually be next Tuesday, and then I think we're done with the conversations for the year. So always glad to get ready for a new year. And yes, happy first day of winter there. Actually forgot it was the solstice. Or I'm not going to go into it. My head's not all here today. But we're here with Erica Schaef, and she is a horror author. And I have to ask, can you tell us about your books?
Sure. So I have two books that are out. Both of them are in the horror genre, of course. And I have one coming out from Bridget's Gate Press at the end of the month, and it's called This Cold Night. And it's sort of a twist on a haunted house story. And then I also have, I mostly have out our short stories. So I have one that was made into an audio production that's available on Audible. It's called Eska, and that's a cosmic horror story, kind of like H.P. Lovecraftian sort of thing. And so I have quite a few things that are out, and the one novella coming out at the end of the month.
Can you tell us about don't give away the story now because I know people like to read it, but can you tell us a little bit about the one coming out?
Yeah, so like I said, it's kind of a twist on a haunted house story. It's contemporary, it's set in modern times. And it's about a young woman who, after the death of a close friend's mother, she's visiting a large estate in the country. And there's a snowstorm. And then I kind of don't want to say too much about what happens because it's kind of, I try to draw out the suspense of what's causing what happens to happen and everything. So, but basically it all takes place over the course of one night, and it's got some different, it has some psychological horror elements, it has some body horror elements, so it has quite a few things that happen over the course of that night.
And when does that come out?
December 29th. So it's available for pre-order now on Amazon. I know.
Sweet. Love your work, Erica. That just came out.
Oh, very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. Just so you can see.
Thank you.
Now, what got you into writing? What was your biggest inspiration?
I think, well, from a young age, my parents and my grandparents would read stories to my sister and I, and my grandma would read us those like scary stories to tell in the dark, those like children's stories that are horror stories. And they always really entertained me. I've always really liked the genre of horror. And I've always really liked writing since I can remember as well. So probably, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago now, I started really kind of getting into writing. I started with short stories in the genre, and I just kind of expanded from there. I had ideas for like longer pieces of fiction. And so, basically it started, my love of writing and my love of horror started a long time ago when I was a kid, basically.
Now, with these stories, is she doing like over Halloween, or was it all through the year? Or
the stories that I write, or you mean when I get inspiration?
When your grandmother was telling
Oh,
you these
yeah,
stories.
all through the year, because we loved them so much that, yeah, we would always ask her to do it. So, yeah, all through the year, those were our favorites.
Now, with all this, have you been to any haunted places? And if so, which one would be your favorite?
So, I haven't, I do like horror stories and I like fiction. The idea of being in an actual haunted place scares me because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I could do that and enjoy it. I like to be entertained, but at a distance. So I've never purposefully gone somewhere that was supposed to be haunted. I like reading about it and like watching documentaries and things like that. But I don't really want to go somewhere. But I worked as a nurse for a long time, and one of the buildings that I worked in was a converted. It used to be a family mansion, and this was in Pennsylvania, and it was there was rumors for years that it was haunted, and I one night heard something that really scared me, and I was like, I never want to purposefully look for this kind of thing. Like I said, I like it at a distance, but not. I would never intentionally go somewhere that was supposed to be haunted.
So basically, you like it far away, but definitely like to write about it.
Right, right. Yeah, I
Now,
like exploring the idea of what makes a place haunted or a person haunted or whatever it is. I like coming up with ideas for that I haven't seen done before. So that to me is an interesting aspect when I'm writing. But yeah, not in real life.
now, who would be your, I guess, a big author that would inspire you, like Stephen King or?
Yeah, I really like Stephen King. The first time I read The Shining, I couldn't finish it. I think there's a part where the little boy Danny is he's in the hotel and there's like a hose, like a fire prevent or a fire extinguishing hose, and he's staring at it. And that something about being afraid but not knowing what it is that you're really afraid of, what the evil is. And it's like just that feeling of unease and that feeling of dread. I think he captures that so well that it terrified me. Like I said, I couldn't finish the Shining the first time I read it. As far as other authors go, like I said, H.P. Lovecraft. I really like the cosmic horror, the idea that we're insignificant and we're not in control. I think that plays on a lot of real life anxiety, and so I think he's someone who was really successful at frightening readers. And then movies, I think some of the newer Netflix shows even have done a really good job of telling stories, even though that's not really a written word, obviously. But like, what was it? That was The Haunting of Hill House. I thought that was terrifying.
Hmm, I have to say, my big one when I was little was Poltergeist. So
Mm,
that was my big one.
yeah, I remember that movie, but not terribly well. But I do remember that it was really frightening with the TV screen, and yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that was my first experience with horror at the age of 9.
yeah.
So it kind of left a little bit of a chill there.
Well, and my that kind of reminds me of my husband because he would watch. He had old like siblings that were older, and so he would watch when from a very young age, like Children of the Corn and that things like that. And so he was, yeah, his first experience. He's kind of like still doesn't like driving past cornfields and things like that because he was that was his introduction into horror.
Now, just to go a little bit further, we talked a little bit. You have short stories and anthologies out too.
Yeah, so I have short stories that are included in anthologies. I don't have my own collection of horror stories out, but I have stories that have been included in some magazines and some anthologies. And then one of my stories was on the podcast Tales to Terrify. That was last year or the year before. And
Hmm.
then my story Eska, like I said, was made into an audio production that's on Audible now.
Now, how many are these actual books that are going to be part of a series that you have coming out, or are you going to think about making it a series?
So I don't want to give away too much about this, the ending of this book. But there's a possibility to do something else with this book.
That's good enough if you don't want to give
Yeah.
away too much. I don't.
No, and sometimes I'll write a short story and I'll still think about the characters or still think about things that could happen with them. So it is something that I consider sometimes, either making one of my short stories longer or writing a sequel or something to a book I already have out. So that comes into my mind, yeah.
I know you don't have much time at this day and age, but have you thought about doing book signings in the near future? Or?
Yeah, that's definitely something that I would be open to. Really, when I started writing, it was like my things were coming out at the peak of COVID. So I did some online conventions and things like that. But of course, there wasn't a lot of in-person opportunities. But yeah, that's something that I would consider doing. Yeah.
It's not really the same as actually a person actually meeting you per se at a
Right.
convention.
And having that personal interaction, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's something possible in the near future. And I know, like I said, I know where you're at, and I know that there's a ton in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you did do one, would you go to like a Comic-Con first, or would you try to focus on just a horror convention?
Well, I know that Stoker Con this year is going to be in Pittsburgh, and I have some family that's up in that area, so that's very horror centric. So I think so. I'm pretty open to any sort of convention and things like that, but it's probably something more specifically toward horror, just because I feel like that's really what I write in.
Now, where can people find you online?
So I'm Twitter and Facebook, and I have like a little blog website, and everything is at Erica Schaef, which you can see the spelling for Schaef, Schaef down there. It's a weird spelling, but yeah, so I'm everywhere at just my name.
I'll just put that out there. And can they contact you to order a book or?
Yeah, I have my email address is on all my social things if somebody wants to contact me, and I'm having problems with the Amazon author for some reason, but once I get that up and going, that'll be another way.
Well, I do, and your book is available for pre-order on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So people go check that out. And you said earlier it was a novella?
Yeah, so I can't remember the exact word count now, but it's shorter than a full-length novel.
So people definitely go check out her book, and you can follow her, and if you want a signed copy, you can contact her. Her email's everywhere. And I do want to thank you for being on our show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's a lot of fun.
And I do wish you the best of luck. And of course, Christmas is right around the corner. So everyone, I want to make sure that y'all have a merry and safe Christmas. And for those who are going to be joining the show later, definitely reach out to Erica and get a copy of her book. And until then, everyone, adios.